Okay, let's start with our granny square. So let's get a slip knot on our hook, and we are going to chain 5. Okay, now that we've chained 5, I'm going to insert my hook into the very first chain, and I am going to hold this loop that it's making with my fingers, and I'm going to do a slip knot, and I'm going to try and go slow and show you a couple times if you haven't done it. But a slip knot is you yarn over and you're going to pull it all the way through both things that were on there. Okay, now I'm going to do that again, and I'm going to show you in a slightly different way. But so you're going to insert your hook into that very first chain that you made, and if you yarn over and pull up a loop, instead of yarning over again, we are just going to take this loop that we just pulled up and pull it through. Alright, so now we're left with this. So now that we have this circle, when we do a granny square, we are going to work into this circle here, into this circle, and not into the chain. Okay, make sure we're working into the circle. And it will be a little bit fiddly at first. I'm going to chain up 2. I like to not use the chain as a stitch, so if you like to use the chain as a stitch, go ahead and chain 1 more to chain 3. So I am going to make 3 double crochets into this center of the circle, and I will show you that. Again, notice how when I yarned over and I inserted the hook into the middle of this circle. Okay, and I'm going to do that one more time. Okay, so now what we have is I have this chain of 2, and then I have 3 double crochets. Now, a cluster of 3 double crochets is considered a granny stitch. Now, granny stitches can be used in a square, but it can also be used in rows or stripes or triangles, whatever shape you want to make them. But this is one side of our first row. So now that we have one complete side, we need to make a corner. So I am going to chain 3. I'm going to make 1 chain for this side, 1 chain for the corner, and 1 chain for the side I'm about to make. That is how I remember how many chains I'm going to make. Some people will just do 2 chains in the corner, and that's okay as well. So now I'm going to do this all over again. We're going to do this process 3 double crochets and 3 chains. We're going to do that a total of 4 times. So I'm going to yarn over, and we are going to do this again. Okay, so now I have 2 sides and only 1 corner, so I need to make 3 chains. Here we are, and we're going to do 3 more double crochets. You will notice that sometimes with this chain it will make it spin around your hook a little bit, and that just happens after you have some chaining, and it will be okay. Okay, so here we go, getting a little caught up here. Okay, so now I have 3 sides and 2 corners. I need to make my 3rd corner, and we just have 1 more side and 1 more corner left. So also, I didn't say it, but I have also been working my yarn over the tail as well, and that is helpful for many reasons. But if you don't hold on to it, you can always go back with your darning needle later and do that. So I am going to make my last side here. Last side, and then Because we have 3 corners and 4 sides, I need to make 1 more corner. Now, I will say that the first 2 rows of a granny square are probably the most confusing, but once you get past those, it will be much easier. So now I need to connect my round together. Now you remember how we did a slip stitch to connect our first chain together? Well, what we're going to do is we are going to do a slip stitch into this first double crochet here. And because I want to try to get you to see where to do that, we are going to explore a little bit. So when you are going in this same direction and you're looking at your stitches from this direction, you will notice that the post for this is called a post of a double crochet. And when you're looking on it this way, the stitch that you would crochet into is almost right behind it, if that makes sense. Now this double crochet here, this is the post here, and this is the stitch. Now this is our very first double crochet, if you remember, but I didn't use this chain here as a stitch. So this here is actually the crochet part, and if you try and count, this is 1 chain, 2 chain, this would be the crochet. So we are going to slip stitch into that spot. So you're going to insert your hook, yarn over, and you're going to pull all of that through. Alright, so we're going to change colors. So there's so many different ways to change colors, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you chain 1, tighten that down so it kind of makes a little knot. We are going to cut this yarn and pull that through. I also like to kind of give it a little squish around. You can tighten that up there. And then also I kind of want to just look at the square here. So if you did work this yarn, you can pull that a little tighter. For granny squares, negative space I do think is just as important as the positive space. So I do like to leave this hole here pretty open, but if it's too big because you needed a bigger hole to work with, you can use this tail to tighten it, and then we'll go back later and sew that end in and to lock it down. Okay, so now we have a little baby square.